Okay, so today we are going to continue with our MySQL database programming. First of all, I will go and open MySQL. In our previous class, we installed MySQL and we saw the workbench. So today I'm going to show you where you can go and find that workbench. So I'm in the start menu. I will go to all apps and I will scroll inside my SQL folder, reveal, and then you can see all of these are all apps belonging to MySQL, including the workbench. So you click on the workbench to just load it. Okay, there we go. This is the starting page of MySQL Workbench. So right now you are not connected, therefore you are not inside any database. So now you need to select the connection with which you want to get inside. So we have the default root user, okay, of the database. So let me simply click on it, okay, and it will try to connect me. The other day, if you can remember, I saved the password in the vault so that I do not necessarily need to provide with the password before I can be allowed inside. All right, so right now I'm inside. So we need to familiarize ourselves with this working environment. At the top here, you can see we have the home. If you click, you will be taken to that home page. And then here you have the local instance, which is this root. And if you have another instance, then another one will open. For example, you click on this one and another instance will open. And you can switch between two instances. You can work differently on different instances. So let me go ahead and close this, and I have this instance. Once you are inside any connection instance, then you will have the availability of the menu, the commands, the tools, okay, for which you can retrieve and work on your database. So what do we have here? First of all, here we have the navigator pane, and this navigator pane is, or let me start from the menu. At the top here you have the menu. Okay, so you can see we have the file menu, edit, view, query, database server, tools, scripting, and help. Under the file, you have the basic file structure. Okay, you have the basic file commands like working with new model, new query tab, open open model, okay, open SQL script, open recent if you have any recent file, run SQL script, and so on and so forth. Some of these two, we will see them in action either here or here. We will see them. All right. So under the edit, you have the basic edit commands such as undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, delete, select all, and so on and so forth. That is what we have here. And under the view, you have where you can choose the view of your working environment. For example, if you come under this panel, you see you can choose to hide the sidebar. If I click, so you see that navigator sidebar is hidden. Okay, you can also see it here blackened. If you click, it will come back. Okay, so you can actually choose to hide or show the items here. For example, look at this. I have much cleaner working environment, and if you go to view panel, you will see all of them. They are all deactivated, so you can actually activate them by simply coming to view and clicking them like this. Okay, and that is what you get under the view. And then you have the select next main tab by alt shift right. It will allow you to select the tabs, that is the tabs you are working with right here if you are not using the mouse but using the keyboard. Okay, so you have the query tab, and with this query tab you can also you have different ways of executing your commands. You can see execute all or selection, execute all or selection to text, execute current statement, execute current statement, vertical text output, explain the current statement. All these commands you are seeing, they are all, some of them are here. You can see that execute the selected statement, execute all, execute, explain. Okay, you have different ways. Okay, so they are what they are found inside this command tab, command bar, I mean. Okay, so here you have the database. You can connect to database, you can manage connections, you can reverse engineer. By reverse engineering means any some defined connection. Okay, you will see all the scripts that is handling the connection, such as the host, the user, the password, and so on and so forth. So this is a schema transfer wizard, and this is migration, and so on and so forth. So this is for administration, the server status, the client connection, the user and privileges. So there is so much to actually this administration. Right now, the MySQL server is running on this computer. That is why we are able to access all of this. If this server is not working, then we will not be able to get this. So if you can come to server status, then you can see that information about the server. You can see where the server is running. Okay, so you see running since Wednesday 13th, 11/13, blah blah blah. Okay, that is the time. You can refresh the connection and you can see the port. You can remember the port that we chose as port 3307 when installing, but by default it is 3306. The reason why I chose 3307 was because I was already using 3306 on this software XAMPP. Okay, so you can see the status of your server. All right, so you can also have other functionalities which you can do, like to say this client connection. Okay, so you can see the information, the event scheduler, the host, the db, none. Okay, and so on and so forth. So it is actually keeping log of all the activities that are going on in your server. Okay, so there are other things which we will eventually come to learn, such as data export, data import, server log, and so on and so forth, and we will learn what they actually mean for you as the database engineer. And here we have tools, and with these tools you can actually make configuration. You can back up connection, you can restore connection. So if you back up connection, usually when you have a good connection, it is good to back it up. Okay, and when you back up your connection, it means you can have the scripts, all the settings of the server state when everything is okay. And when some eventualities happen, so that your server is unable to connect, you can always refer back to that connection by restoring the connection. And here you can have some utilities. Okay, so this has to do with the PHP. We don't have anything to do with that. And then we also have the shell. This is the command to run the shell, which is simply the command line interface for MySQL utilities. And here you have scripting, where you can create new scripting, open script, and so on. So eventually we'll also work with this when we come to deal with an external scripting. You can write script from an external program such as Notepad or Visual Studio Code or some other text editor, and you want to execute the command inside your MySQL Workbench. All right, so that is what you have here. And then finally here you have help. So if you are in need of any help, you can visit the documentation, blog, forums, and so on, and you can get help from there. And here you have this toolbar. Okay, kind of the standard toolbar, and with this you can create new MySQL tab. If you click, then another tab will be open for you. You see now we have two of them. Let me close that. And with this you can open an external script. Okay, that is if you already have the code somewhere. So this, you can open inspector for the selected object and inspect the information about, that is the structure and all the information about the particular object. And this you can create a new schema, okay, in the connection. Don't worry, we'll soon talk about the schema. Okay, so with this you can create a new table in the schema, and with this you can create new view in the active schema. So we'll talk more about the schema, database, views, and so on. Okay, this is a stored procedure. Also, we'll talk about it later. Okay, and these are functions, and in fact these are the basic tools which you need to work with inside your database. So down here we have the navigator panel. You can also switch it into schema panel. Okay, so when it is in the navigator panel, what you have are the same things. Some of them are the same things which we found under this menu, like the server connection, like the client connection, user privilege, status, and system data export. So if you remember, we saw some of those here. Okay, under server you see we have the server status, we have the client connection, we have the user privileges. Okay, we have the status and system. They are just the same command brought outside here. Okay, data export, data import, they are all under this management. All right, and then some instances start up and shut down, server log, and so on and so forth. Okay, they are what you normally find here. Okay, if you switch over to schema, you will see the list of the schemas and the databases. So now, what is a schema and what is a database? Typically you can say they are all the same thing. Assume that somebody asks you um the difference between a police officer and a lawmaker. Sorry, law law maintainer, for example. The job of police is to maintain law and order. Oh, and somebody say, what is the difference between law maintainer and police officer? You see, from one angle they are all the same thing, isn't it? But from more explanation, they have certain differences, because not only a police is a law maintainer. Maybe you can have civil defense, maybe you can have neighborhood watch, and so on and so forth. So it is like that. So in a nutshell, we can say a schema is a database. But in a more detailed way, a schema is not a database, in that a schema also contains the information about the structure, okay, of the database, while the database is just the data. Do we understand that? But later on, we'll see if we create schema, it is just the same thing as database, and if we create database, it is just the same thing as schema. Okay, so down here we have the output pane, and this output pane we can choose to hide it or show it. Okay, if we are running command, it opens automatically to give us the result of what we want. And then from that sound, this side we have this panel where you see some more information, okay, and maybe some tips. So let us just close that up, and let me close this, and I am inside schema. And right now I want to